Okay. Damage you make in your own party. Okay.
Hey. Yeah, mic check, mic check.
Mic
Check
check.
1 2. Check, check. Can you hear me, R? Say yes.
Okay,
We
we're
good?
good. Yep.
Alright. Man, it's nice to have somebody to talk to the whole race. Woohoo!
Glad to be back.
Yay! The last 2 weeks I've had Hefty joining me halfway through.
Well, let's
Why is
hope
it
that
saying?
does not happen this week.
It says I'm communicating with online servers, which is beautiful. Okay, there we go. We're good. It was a little sketchy. Alright, I've got points, standings, and everything up. I've got a track
Okay.
map. Poor Masa just joined. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the UDL F1 League, round 17 of the Formula One Championship. My name is Mr. Damage, along with Jonathan Mlado. How you doing, buddy?
I am doing great, and it's good to be back. I've had some issues lately with internet, but I'm here.
Yeah, we've had somebody playing hooky in the commentary booth, but this week, nah, we got two of us. So we're going to be ready to rock here at Suzuka for UDL F1 League. Oh, man. So, do you have any clue who is fast and who is not? Because I do not.
I saw Pecan is pretty quick. From the little bit of practice I was able to watch, he was on the top, and I think he had about a 7/10 lead over second place, which is Snipper Pig. So he'll be one to watch out for.
To go ahead and explain why there's a ton of clouds in the sky, the weather forecast for this weekend is overcast with around a 40% chance of rain. So we could see some rain here at some point in this GP, which would be very nice. It'd be a great way to shake up the GP.
It'd be really nice to see that.
Because now we have a few people on their outlaps. Going to go ahead and talk about a couple of different penalties for this weekend. Pecan, one of the championship contenders, has a 10-place grid penalty and also got disqualified from last week's Russian GP after his antics last week. Breezy has received a 10-place grid penalty for causing a collision, but he will be missing qualifying, so that will be penalty enough. Eat That Green Bean, if he was here, would have a penalty, but that will be for next week. Man has a 10-place grid penalty. Sinister Owl had one of his time penalties removed last week. Racer X has received a 5-second time penalty, and everyone moved up one spot in last week's GP due to Pecan's disqualification. The points heading on into this GP have Snipper Pig on top, 241 points. Pecan in P2 with 200 points. Bossman taking over that P3 last week with 97, and Breezy is not here. He has 88 points. As now there are a few drivers starting their laps, so I'll go ahead and take you through a guide of the Suzuka circuit, going through this nice long right-hand turn one. It's a nice double apex turn one to turn two, and then this left-hand kink of turn three. Very easy to spin these cars through here, as now we're going through the chicane, or through the S section here, through turns 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now it's going through the left-hander of 5 and the long right-hander of 6, and then now up the left-hander Dunlop curve out of the S section, and then back downhill towards the Degna curves. We got Degner 1 right here, and then slowing it right down for Degner 2. Very easy to go off into the gravel there. There's not very much runoff. There's now we go underneath the bridge and up to the hairpin And now this hairpin, very easy to get a terrible exit out of that hairpin, as now we go through 220R. Not very many people know that's the name of this corner. I didn't even know it was the name of the corner, but it is in fact 220Rs. Now we go up towards Spoon Curve, one of the toughest corners in the Formula One calendar. Very easy to screw this one up. As now we come flying down this back straight, the top straight, if we're going to be honest, as now we're going to go over the top of the bridge right before 130R. Here's the bridge now, and then left-hander through 130R up towards the Casio Triangle, aka the final chicane, and then up to through this nice right-hand final corner with a huge bump at the exit to come across the line. And Sniffer Pig, well, his lap was invalidated, but there was your lap of the Suzuka circuit, as Hono set the fastest lap of the session with a 129.805. Real Space Hero P2 and get that money and run in P3.
Could not have said it any better myself.
Oh man, that's a lot of talking, but
Boss Man coming into the final chicane on a quick lap right now.
he is on the mediums, so got the yellow sidewalls to match his car, and he goes up into P3. Glen Coco puts into P2 with a 130.5. There's this yellow flag in sectors 1, 2, and 3. Somebody's flying a blimp over the track. Now Man puts in his first flying lap of the session, but it didn't seem to be very fast at all. He's going to be looking to improve on that lap time. Boconos coming through 130R now, with Honos right behind him. I'm
Sinister
pretty
Owl
sure.
coming to the end at the final corner.
Sinister Owl crosses the line. He was invalidated, though. See what Boconos can do. He goes up in a P2 after a strong performance last week. And then now there's a Ferrari coming across the line. It looks like he just started his lap. That would be Zeus, the new driver of Zeus, here into this race. We have 3 drivers in this race that were different from before. Sniffer Pig goes a 128.942 to put himself onto provisional pole position, of almost a full second faster than Honos in P2. We have ZE442US, aka Zeus, in the Ferrari, Wild Taquito in the Mercedes, and Pedro Guedes, who goes up into P3. He is making his return to the league for McLaren.
Impressive showing from Sniper Pig, as always.
Yeah, he is.
Pecan really needs to get these points and hope something happens to Sniper Pig, or else he is out of this championship with a 41-point deficit.
Man goes up into P2, showing some good pace in that Alpha. He goes at 129.7 to beat his teammate out by just a little under a tenth to go up into P2. He now pulls off the track to let a few drivers through. Great lap there out of Man. So now Zeus coming around the final corner to set his first flying lap. Let's see what he can do. He gets up in a P9, the 131.276.
Pecan going very slow.
Real Space Hero sets a 129.984, puts himself up into P4 on the third lap on these soft compound tires. So he's really wringing these tires out before he comes into pit.
Man has a spin.
Man's got all that pace, but he's going to have to keep the consistency up if he wants to have a good shot at winning this race. His Real Space Hero and one of the racing points, it looks like Hefty Bag, have had some sort of a run together or something, as they're both off the track right next to each other. Not quite sure what happened there. I'm sure we'll figure it out later. Because now a lot of drivers are on their in laps. Zeus is on his in lap. Wild Taquito, I assume, is on his in lap because he's going fairly slowly. Boconos, I would assume, is on an in lap. Maybe not. I'm not quite sure. Man, definitely on an in lap. Oh man. So what sort of a prediction do you have for this qualifying session here at Suzuka for the Japanese GP?
Um, my my prediction for pole will be Snipper Pig, just due to the exceptional pace throughout the season, and his pure confidence. But I would not be surprised if Pecan can take that away. This is what he claims to be his best track, so if that is true, then he could definitely get the win.
Bocanos is retired from the session, so something has gone massively wrong for the Mercedes driver. So the best he can do now is P6.
Pecan coming into the final chicane.
See what Pecan can do now coming through the final corner. Coming across the line. He goes up at a P2. Just a couple of tenths off of Snipper Pig with a 129.130. Very close for that front battle on the front row. Man, a very surprising P3 still. Great result out of him so far if he can hold on to that position.
4 drivers still have yet to set a lap.
2 of these drivers yet to set a lap are very quick, including Sinister Owl and Hefty Bag. So we all know that these 2 drivers are very capable. Hefty Bag from his F2 days, and then Sinister, he's just fast. He just has to work on his consistency. So Sinister Owl can be a huge he could put off a serious upset here. As now both of these drivers are actually running hand in hand down this back straight. Sinister Owl gets out of the way of Hefty Bag. That was pretty close, but Hefty Bag got all the tow he wanted now through this final chicane.
After mentioning his Hefty Bag's F2 days, it should be mentioned that there's a possibility of bringing back the F2 portion of the UDL soon.
Yes, there's been an announcement that we will try to have a F2 race next week as Hefty Bag goes up into P3 with a 129.363, just as I had expected him to be. And Sinister Owl starts another flying lap. And so we're trying to get a F2 race together for next week. If anyone is interested in racing F2 that is watching this live stream, please message us, comment on this video telling us you are interested, and message us on either PlayStation or PlayStation, and we'll get you right in.
Yeah, we would love to have all of you, especially Intersport. Sorry, I had a little tickle in my throat, but love you, Intersport.
Honos improves on his best lap time, goes a 129.258, as there is a racing point in the gravel of Maida. As now Snipper Pig goes even faster, goes a 128.724 to extend his gap to Pecan by 0.4 of a second. Unbelievable out of Snipper Pig, just unbelievable. But this is a great battle here in the top 4 positions. I mean, they're all within just a couple of tenths. This is really good stuff out of those 4 drivers. And then Sinister Owl pops it into P5 right on cue with a 129.614. These 5 guys are some of the fastest guys in this league, and they are really showing their consistency with their speed throughout each track, just being up there in the front almost every week.
Very impressive. The most surprising to me is Man being in 6th. He's had a very rough season, but I'm very impressed with his position right now.
I am as well. I'm completely surprised by him being there, and definitely a great effort by Man to get himself up into P6 already. Let's see if he can get himself even further up on the grid. As now Bossman goes up into P5, takes that away from his teammate Sinister Owl with a 129.489, just to make it that much closer up in the top 6 now.
This is going to be a very good race. Top 8 within just over a second.
Yeah, this is going to be an absolutely insane race here. Definitely going to be one to watch. For all of you tuning in, this is going to be the race you're going to want to watch right here. This is going to be absolutely beautiful.
This might take the place of best race of the season after our failed prediction of Spa.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it is what it is. I mean, the best race of the season. Oh man, that's such a tough one, you know? I mean, how about this? Everybody watching this, comment in the comment section what your favorite race was right after you smack the like button and subscribe to the channel. As now the shameless plug is over, I'll get back to commentating. See if I can find anybody at the end of a lap here. Glenn Coco coming up towards 130R, but he's very far off on his lap. Kill the Birdman coming through the S's now. Zeus coming through the hairpin. Chiquito right in front of him in hairpin. Then Maida coming out onto the track now. So it doesn't look like there's too many drivers coming up to finish a lap. Bossman's on a cooldown lap. Real Space Hero is not on a cooldown lap. He is flying towards the chicane. Let's see if he can put himself up into that mix in the top 6. Or top 7, more like it. Get himself even closer to that pole position. He goes a 129.796, improves by a couple of tenths, but stays in P8. Just making that battle so close in the top 8. Now it is 1 second covering the entirety of the top 8. Very good. Nice, close qualifying session here so far.
Very impressive.
So now Pedro is coming down the backstretch, going up towards 130R. Zeus puts in a 130.016 to put himself into P9 provisionally. As Pedro slows down quite a bit, so he was definitely had some sort of an issue there. Is now Kill the Birdman goes up into P10 at a 130.168. So Boknos is really going to be kicking himself. He's fallen all the way from P6 to P12 in this qualifying session. Zeus is okay. That was a graphical error. It showed Zeus as being 1.2 seconds faster than his first time through the first sector, and that was pretty rapid. But okay, so that's wrong. That's good. As Pedro, I caught this on camera. Pedro is spun in the S's in that McLaren. So Pedro is going to be sitting here waiting for everybody to go by. He's going to lose a lot of time here. Probably not even going to be able to get another lap on the board as we only have a minute and a half left in this session.
It should be said, 2 drivers still have not actually completed a lap.
Yeah, Nada and
Hefty
the
bag is in the
Imperial
wall.
both. Typical Hefty bag spinning it out and hitting the wall. He's going to love it that I said that.
He hit the wall again.
He loses a bit of his front wing, so that'll be his qualifying session over and done. Best he can do is now P4. As we only have a minute and 9 seconds left in this qualifying session. Honos is on a flyer right now. Sinister just started a flying lap.
Wall.
Man has spun as well. A lot of spins here as these drivers are really going to be pushing, and this track is very easy to spin around. It's very tough. It's a very tough track, especially those S curves. So now Honos is coming into this final chicane. He'll have one more lap after this lap to set a flyer. So he now comes and he goes into the pit lane. So very interesting decision by him to pit and not take that final lap. He must have had enough fuel in the car. As now Maida retires from this session. So unfortunate for him, he did not set a lap in this session. Will Space Hero is a little bit up on his last time. See what he can do. I'm going to check and make sure I'm not missing anybody else crossing the line. Doesn't quite look like it, so I'll go back to Real Space Hero as he comes around the final corner now. Bossman was in front of him, and Real Space Hero goes up into P3 with a 129.227, and he has enough time to get one more lap on the board. So great
Very
showing
impressive.
right now provisionally by the Red Bull Racing team. That just makes everything that much closer.
Very impressive.
As now Sinister goes across the line, goes a 129.066, puts himself into P2. So unbelievable qualifying session here in the last few dying seconds.
Get that money and run goes up into 9th with a 129.906.
Great qualifying session here out of these drivers. I'm going to be searching for Pecan and Sniper Pig. Pecan will be coming across the line first. Is there anybody in front of him? I'm not quite sure. I don't think so. So Pecan will be coming across the line now. Let's see if he improves on his lap. He goes a 128.824, goes up into P2 provisionally, but Sniper Pig might be improving on his lap. He does. He goes a 128.618. Unbelievable pace out of Sniper Pig here. And now Real Space Hero should be the next one to cross. Actually, no, Bossman. Oh. Well, Hefty Bag has a broken front wing. Bossman coming around the final chicane now, coming up to the final corner. Let's see if he will improve on his lap time. He is taking it, and he will go faster by a 1/10.5. He goes a 129.362. Real Space Hero goes into the pit lane, so your pole position will go to Sniper Pig 007 with a 128.618. Unbelievable lap time there in the dying seconds of this qualifying session. Pecan 128.824, and Sinister Owl pops into P3 there in the final seconds with a 129.066.
Very impressive qualifying.
That was impressive. That was great. That was absolutely phenomenal, and this will be a GP to watch. These gaps are absolutely insane. I mean, from P4 to P7 is a little over a 1/10 of a second. A little over a 1/10. P4 to P7. Unbelievable. I mean, look at how close these gaps are. It's a second to P8. Unbelievable. Absolutely stunning. Sniper
look
Pig,
at the gap between 6th and 7th.
Yeah, it's insane. Absolutely insane. 1,000th of a second between those two drivers, Bossman and Hefty Bag. Unbelievable. So Sniper Pig gets that pole position for Red Bull Racing. Pecan in a very strong P2. Sinister Owl in P3. Pecan will also have a 10-place grid penalty, so he will be starting in P12. But we'll have to start on this soft compound tires because those are the tires that he qualified on. Real Space Hero qualifies in P4. Honos in P5. Bossman is in P6. Hefty Bag in P7. Man qualifies in P8. Very strong performance out of him, but he will have a 10-place grid penalty. Get that money and run in P9, and Zeus rounds out the top 10. Let me see if I can get the rest of the field here. Kill the Birdman qualifies in P11. Pedro on his return back to the F1 grid goes in P12 for McLaren. Boknos in P13 after retiring from P6 in the session. He's not going to like that at all. Glenn Coco comes across the line. He will be P14 for Haas. P15 will be Wild Taquito in his second race in the UDL F1 League for Mercedes. The Imperial and Maida rounding out the field, and they did not set a time in this qualifying session.
Very, very impressive qualifying.
Wow. So, after this qualifying session, who do you think the podium will be for this Japanese GP?
I can't even say.
That's a tough question. That is a very tough question. Any one of the top 10 could win this race. I mean, it's that close.
Everybody in the top 10 has equal chances to win this race. Honestly, there are a few people out of the top 10 that have a chance.
Yeah. This is insane. Oh, man, this is going to be so hard to pin down a podium, but I'm going to have to, just so I can look stupid at the end of this stream. Oh, God. So, I say, with Pecan in P2, all the way from P12 on the grid, and Sinister in P3.
That would be interesting.
That, I know I'm going to be wrong anyways, so I might as well do what my heart wants me to say and say Real Space Hero wins. because that man deserves to win.
I would like to see
at some
that.
point. He has been here since the first race.
Are we getting Sinister in here? Yes.
Month ago, that is a lie.
I was talking to him yesterday.
I was talking to him today. All right, so here we have Sinister Owl in the party. This time you can actually hear him, Mr. Hillbilly himself. He qualified a solid P3. Great qualifying session out of Sinister Owl, and he will be starting on the front row due to Pecan's penalties. So, Sinister, how happy are you to be on the front row for the Japanese GP?
Well, before it's always me, Snipper, and Pecan up front, and I am always third and at least a half a second down on them. So I don't think I'll have anything for Snipper in the race, but I guess we'll give it a shot and try.
I mean, I feel like the entire top 10 has a chance.
Yeah, in our honest opinion, with the top 10 being so close, you might have people coming from the 10th position to really fight you for that lead.
Yeah. Who knows? It's such a weird track out there. It's very hard to drive on. It's very rough on tire wear too. So strategy's gonna be huge. So, I mean, yeah, it could be like a guy who's starting in last and might end up in win. For example, at Pecan, he could have a fantastic strategy again and somehow win this race.
It is worth it to be said that Pecan has to start on the soft compound tire, as that is the tire he qualified on inside of the top 10.
Mm-hmm. And one
so
second,
hopefully
he is bugging me to get to my car, so give me just a second. All right, go.
So I'm assuming the pit strategy here is going to be a one-stop soft to medium. Is that what you're thinking?
I don't know. The tire wear is very, very bad around here. I think it might be like a two-stop maybe, or a one-stop from softs to hards, but I don't think I'm going to be able to make a soft to medium compound.
Okay. Do you know if there's any chance of rain in this race, or is it going to be all dry?
There's no chance of rain. It should stay dry, unless they pulled a fast one on us, which I wouldn't be too surprised about, because they like to do that in this league. So we will just have to find out, and we'll play it by ear.
Alrighty. So thanks for joining us, Sinister. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
And have fun.
Yep, good luck, man.
Alrighty. Thank you.
Alright, so there was Sinister Owl, the hillbilly himself.
Waiting to get this race started.
Doesn't seem like anybody else wants to do a interview at the moment, so that's kind of sad. So I said my top three. Who is your top three?
As much as I want Real Space Hero to get his first win, because I really believe he deserves it, as well as Sinister Owl, in my opinion, I think it's going to be a Red Bull race, and it's going to be Sniper Pig on the top. It is going to be Real Space Hero in second, and Sinister Owl in third.
Okay, I respect that. I mean, you never know what could happen here in the UDL F1 League. We've had some pretty wild races here the last few weeks, and I wouldn't be surprised if this one's just as wild as the rest. We know how hard this track can be, and it can be very vicious. And
Yes.
tracks don't have souls, and Suzuka is one of those tracks that doesn't have a soul. It will murder you.
We all just need to hope that it can stay clean, but if it doesn't, then, you know, stuff happens.
Yep.
It's racing.
I mean, if you guys have tuned in for the last few weeks of GPs, you guys know how those races have went. It has been quite the catastrophe the last couple of weeks. Singapore and Russia both having a high amount of retirements, as well as Spa a few weeks ago. So we've been averaging quite a few retirements here in the last few races.
Hoping that number can go down towards the end of the season, but
yeah, hopefully we only have 1 or 2 retirements here today. It's unrealistic to say there won't be any, but 1 or 2 would be very nice.
yes.
The weather forecast for this race will be cloudy into a light cloud and dry the entire race. So we're going to start out overcast, and then it'll get the clouds will kind of clear up a little bit, but it'll stay dry the whole time. Which will be very good on tire wear, because the track will be a lot cooler.
I must admit, I was kind of hoping for a rain race.
I was too. Maybe a little bit of intermediate conditions right in the middle of the race, you know? That would make things a lot of fun. A lot of fun. So now the session is starting. Thank God. If all of you haven't already, I know I say this a lot, but, you know, why not? So, go ahead, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you can know every time we stream. I'm streaming on my personal account, Mr. Damage, and then John is streaming on the UDL F1 League account. I'll go ahead and put the link to that race in my chat so you guys can see the split view and watch both of our perspectives here in this race. There's also a couple of drivers live streaming the race themselves. So we're going to have quite a few POVs for this race. Whew, I'm excited.
I am as well.
Drew, what is your gamer tag? Drew, you? I assume? Maybe? Possibly? If that's who I think it is, then you were replaced by Meta for this. Yeah, you were replaced by Meta in the Racing Point for this weekend. So it's Meta and Hefty Bag in the Racing Point. Is now the session will be starting in 0 seconds. Not very many people finished picking their strategies / setups, so go them. So now we will look at the tire choice for all these drivers. So almost everybody starting on the softs. Wow. Masashiro, the only driver on the mediums. It's kind of wild.
Let's see if that risk can give him good reward.
Yeah, Masashiro is going to be looking for a better strategy during this race. Last week, the Imperial had a very good strategy. He stayed out very long on some medium compound tires at the start of the GP and ended up getting quite a few points out of that race because of a very good medium compound stint. So let's see if Masashiro can duplicate what the Imperial did. And just as a recap, we've had a few grid penalties. So Pecan will be starting in P12, Man will be starting in P17, and Breezy will be starting dead last after missing qualifying as well as Masashiro, who also missed qualifying by just a smidge.
Not a good day for Ferrari after qualifying.
Yeah, Ferrari really far down. They're going to be looking to get as many points as possible here in this GP. They are quick math, 38 points behind Red Bull in the Constructors' Championship, but Red Bull and Ferrari are miles ahead of Renault in third place with 179, and McLaren in fourth place with Renault with 197 and McLaren 179. Williams and Haas are also tied at 163 points apiece in fifth and sixth in the Constructors. So very close Constructors' Championship from P3 to P6 and also at the front.
It'll be interesting to see the results at the end of the season for the midfield, to really see where everybody's going to be placed.
Yes, this midfield is very close. We've had a few drivers underperform, a few drivers overperform and get standout finishes. And so these standings are really shooken up because of it. But here we are, lining up to the grid. We have a few drivers who were disqualified from the formation lap. Are you ready?
I am ready.
The Japanese GP. The lights are coming on now. 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5, and the lights are out, and away we go for the Japanese Grand Prix here in Suzuka as Sipperpig gets a very good start. Sinister not a very good start with Real Space Hero falling in line in P3. He gets a very big dose of oversteer there, and Honos has to try to avoid him as all the drivers get through there very cleanly, it seems, at the front at least. There's a crash in the back of the field in the mid-pack. Pedro and Wild Taquito came together, and Pedro pulls out on the track right in front of Man. And so also Masashiro goes off into the gravel in the S's, and Maeda is also spun. So quite a few drivers fall victim to the cold tires here in the S section. There's now jump back up to the front of the field. Sipperpig got a very good start. He's almost a second ahead of Sinister Owl in P2. Real Space Hero up into P3. And oh man, Hefty Bag is spun and he is in the wall. Oh no, huge disappointment for Hefty Bag. He has not had any luck. He is retired from every F1 GP he has been a part of. As now Pecan has gotten past. Pecan is spinning in Spoon Curve. Pecan has spun out in Spoon. Huge disappointment for him. So Pecan, after starting P12
as well.
So now we're going to jump back up just a little bit. There's a huge gaggle of cars here going up into chicane. Breezy already up into P9 after starting in dead last. So a great start out of Breezy here. And Zeus goes into the pit lane having a broken front wing. So huge disappointment for the Ferrari team. As now Breezy is right behind, get that money and run, but no DRS quite yet, so he's not going to be able to make any sort of a move. Going to jump back up here towards the front of this field. Sipperpig out front with Sinister Owl in P2 and Real Space Hero in P3.
What a wild lap one.
Yeah, that was crazy, to say the least. Definitely a lot of controversy there. Quite a few drivers in the wall and spun out, including one of our championship contenders, Pecan, once again finding himself in trouble this week.
This is the last thing Pecan needs for a championship.
Yeah, Pecan right now out of the points, and Sipperpig in P1. If Sipperpig wins this race, he will be 66 points ahead of Pecan in this championship, which will put it very out of reach for Pecan.
We're getting down to the last group of Grand Prix here, and you can't really afford this.
Now Breezy is alongside Get That Money and Run going up into turn 1, and he will get the position, drives it in very deep into turn 1 and 2, and he will take P7 away from Get That Money and Run. And the McLaren Hefty Bag has come into the pit lane, sadly, after hitting the wall to get a front wing change and put on the hard compound tires. He will be looking to go to the end of this GP. So you have a battle for P3 right now. Honos is right on the back of Real Space Hero. Real Space Hero goes off into the gravel in the Degna curve. So Honos right behind Real Space Hero here, putting on the pressure, and Space is definitely feeling it. Right now, that predicted podium is looking pretty well for you. But we have a long race to go.
It's a little shuffled right now, but the people are spot on.
Yep, Sinister Owl's still holding on to P2. He's around a second behind Snipper Pig. He's going to want to stay out of the grass, though, if he's going to stay within that second.
Breezy really looking to get the pass down on Boknos, coming into 130R.
Breezy going around the outside of 130R. If he can make this move stick, this is unbelievable driving from Breezy. Already up into P5 after starting in P19. Beautiful comeback drive here from Breezy after missing qualifying. But now Boknos has DRS, and he will zoom right on past him going into turn 1. So all that work out of Breezy for nothing. Real Space Hero and Honos side by side in the S section, but Honos backs out of it. Real Space Hero closes the door on him, and Honos will have to live to fight another day.
Breezy's still right on the tail of Boknos.
Yeah, this battle for 5th between Breezy, Get That Money and Run, and Boknos is very close. Now they're coming up towards this hairpin. Breezy right on the back of Boknos here. He could go for a move, but not quite going to have enough room and be close enough to do it.
Get That Money and Run, making a little nudge into the inside, but thinks better.
Sorry about that. I was trying to get somebody to actually watch this race. So now Breezy is right on the back of Boknos once again. He looks to the outside going into the chicane. Boknos goes defensive, but Breezy not going to be able to get past there, but he will have the DRS going into turn 1. Breezy made the mistake last lap of getting by before the DRS zone, so now Breezy will be looking to go around the outside of turn 1. Let's see if he can make this move stick around the outside of 1 and 2, and they make a little bit of contact as now Breezy goes cut back to the inside and takes that P5 away from Boknos. Great move from Breezy there.
Breezy already making some great passes early on in this race.
That man is on a mission.
Bossman's starting to catch back up to Get That Money and Run after his spin in the chicane.
Bossman will be looking for a little bit of redemption after that spin he had. He's already on the back of Get That Money and Run, trying to get himself up through the points. If he can get all the way through this pack of drivers, he will be in P5. But Breezy will be really looking forward to passing Honos to try to get by Pecan. An update on his race, he is up into P12 now. But he has a broken front wing. He's going to really want to change that front wing in the pit stop this week around. As now Breezy has a 1 second gap on Boknos going down the back straight. So Breezy will not have to worry about the DRS anymore. Honos is within DRS of Real Space Hero on the other hand. So Honos will be looking to try to hold on and get onto the podium to upset your podium prediction chances. He is closing and closing, but not quite close enough. There's only one DRS stone on this track.
Going for a pass on Get That Money and Run and the outside of turn 1.
trying to go around the outside of turns 1 and 2, and it looks like he might get it done. He does. Beautiful move out of Bossman, going around the outside of the McLaren there through turns 1 and 2 to get himself up into P7.
Incredible move.
We've already seen some great overtakes here.
It is not easy to go around the outside of turn 1 here.
Looks like Real Space Hero has made a little bit of a mistake. Honos was within a tenth of Real Space Hero, but that dirty air through to Degner's really slowed him down a lot. Now he's around half a second back. Sinister Owl, good to keep in mind, he is still right around a second away from Sniper Pig. So if he can get into that DRS zone, he'll be able to stay with him for the rest of this race, most likely. As another side note, Breezy has taken a second out of the gap between himself and Honos in this one lap. So Breezy's showing a huge amount of pace here, and he has 2 seconds on Bokonos after passing him last lap.
Breezy is one of the fastest drivers in the league, so that doesn't surprise me at all. He any race he takes place in he's definitely a contender for the win every time.
I absolutely agree, and we remember his wonderful comeback drive at Monza. He spun, dropped all the way down into around P16, came all the way back to win the race.
Incredible,
so unbelievable, an unbelievable drive from him in Italy, and looks like he can have a very similar comeback drive here in this race, as it is already lap 7. He's in P5. A little further back in the field, Hefty Bag is right on the back of Pedro. We got a little bit of a train here outside of the points. Give these guys a little bit of love in the back, as Man has DNF from the session, while Chiquito is spun right in front of the leaders, I believe. No, he is not. He's in front of other people. Right in the midfield, Glen Coco killed the Birdman and Imperial. He lets by. I don't know where Man spun. Oh, he spun in the Degnas. He hit the wall in the Degna curves, and that was the end of his race. Poor Man after such a promising qualifying session.
You have to feel bad for Man. He's had a really unlucky season.
Yeah, Man is just... He has fell to all of these different mistakes that have just haunted him throughout this entire season. Sinister Owl... Get to point out that he is now within DRS of Sniper Pig, or he was. He made a mistake in the final chicane. He was only 8 tenths back, but he made a mistake. Now he's out of the point. He's out of that DRS zone again. Get that money and run. Bossman has a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Very unfortunate for him, as he goes onto the medium compound tires, one of the first to pit, and he is serving that 5-second time penalty as we speak. So huge disappointment for him. He's going to drop down quite a bit in the order.
Oh no, still right on the back end of Real Space Hero.
Yeah, now as they come through the Degna curves, Degna 1 and now Degna 2. Honos loses a couple of tenths through there once again. Those turns are very tough for these cars to stay together in. As now there's a little bit of sunlight in the hairpin. That's always nice to see, as now it goes dark again as we're underneath the clouds going through 220R.
Everybody's decently spread out right now. The Imperial is a little closer to kill the Birdman, but it does drop back.
Yeah, Honos has fell out of that DRS from Real Space Hero, so he's definitely struggled here on this lap. And now he will be staying out on the track. So will Real Space Hero. Quite a few drivers staying out. Let's see if Breezy stays out. He does. Bokonos will be coming into the pit lane. So after 7 laps, Bokonos will be coming into the pits to get a new set of what I would assume will be medium compound tires. Let's see if anybody else bites. Glen Coco does not. Kill the Birdman does not. Neither does the Imperial. So all these drivers are going to be staying out. Pecan staying out as well. So only 2 drivers have pit here so far in the normal pit window. It's going to be a stretch to get those mediums all the way to the end.
Yeah. I think
Sinister
that's why
Owl.
they're. I think that's why they're keeping it out on the softs as far as possible, just to try and make that stretch that they need to do at the end as small as possible.
Sinister is missing out on a huge opportunity for an undercut here. If Sniper Pig doesn't pit this lap, I believe Sinister should, so that he can get this undercut and try to get into the lead of this race. Track position, as we always know, is more important in Formula One, just because of how much dirty air these cars put off. And I'm sure he could get, with a good outlap, I'm sure he could get up into P1 after the pit stops. Or be very close at least.
I completely agree.
So let's see if Sniper Pig goes into the pit lane this lap. He does not. Let's see if Sinister Owl does. He stays out as well. So Sinister Owl clearly not watching our live stream. So all four of the top 10 stay out for yet another lap. So does Breezy in P5. So all these drivers are staying out still. They're really going to be stretching these tires out. And it makes me kind of question the strategy from the likes of Bokanos and Bossman heading so early. So there's a yellow flag in Sector 1. Not quite sure who that was for. Looks like it was a back marker. Not quite sure who it was.
Yeah, I couldn't find anything.
And Sniper Pig is right on the back of, I believe, a Toro Rosso. No, he was on the back of a racing point of Maida. So, very unfortunate for Maida. Now Honos gets a terrible exit out of the hairpin and loses quite a bit of time. It was within a couple of tenths. Killed the Birdman right on the back of Glen Coco here for P7. These guys right here in this midfield are always having such a good battle.
It's been the theme of the past few races.
It's always fun to watch these Haas drivers battle every week non-stop. Now Zeus and Pedro are nose to tail in P13 and P14. The yellow flag in Sector 1, not quite sure who that's for. See, Snipper Pig pits, and Sinister Owl stays out. So does, let's see, so does Real Space Hero and Honos and Breezy. So they all are missing out on a huge opportunity to gain a lot of time here, especially Sinister Owl. This overcut's never going to work, especially around Suzuka. The tire wear here is absolutely critical.
I don't see this working, but if they manage to pull it off, I'll be impressed.
I believe Honos has spun in the first sector going through turns 1 and 2. Breezy is now up into P3, and Honos is around 3.5 seconds behind Breezy. So Honos has made a huge mistake there. That'll cost him a lot of time. He now dropped down into P4, but has lost around 6 seconds to Real Space Hero in front of him. It's worth mentioning that Sniper Pig came out into a huge gap into P6. Just get that money and run right up the road from him, about 2.5 seconds up in front of him. But he will have clean air for quite a few laps here to get some great laps in to get this undercut working and build that lead even further out front. Yeah, there's a huge gap between P5 and P. There was a huge gap between P5 and P6 before Sniper Pig pit there. Or from P6
Breezy
to P7.
Taken
Breezy
out. I think there was contact.
Breezy is spun in the chicane, so now Breezy and Honos both coming into the pit lane, as well as Real Space Hero and Sinister Owl. So all of the top 4 are now pitting. Get that money and run. Will go up into the lead, and Sniper Pig up into P2 provisionally. Sinister Owl lost a ton of time there in that overcut attempt. Real Space Hero will now come onto the track as well. Kill the Birdman has gotten a penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Pecan jumps all the way up into P6. Glen Coco P5, but gotta remember those two drivers have not pit yet. So very tough for Breezy there. Not quite sure what happened.
I went and rewatched the stream. There was actually contact between, I think it was Madia and Breezy, like breaking into the chicane, which caused him to spin.
Very unlucky for Breezy, lapping the racing point of Madia in P15 or P17. So very unfortunate for Breezy there. That has dropped him back quite a few positions here. So now we have a huge train behind Pecan, who has a broken front wing. So once again, there's a Pecan train here this week. But Pecan will soon to be pitting, as well as Glen Coco in front of him. So I won't expect this train to last as long as it did last week. Sniper Pig, a full pit stop ahead of Get That Money and Run as he goes into the pit lane. He sets a new fast time of a 132.918. He's extended the gap to Sinister Owl. It is 5.3 seconds. See, this is what I'm saying. Sinister Owl should have took the initiative and went for that undercut on around lap 9 and got that time on Sniper Pig, because just look at how much time he has lost.
I could have easily seen Sinister Owl in the lead if he had taken the undercut.
If any one of those top 4 drivers had taken the undercut, they would have most likely either been battling for the lead or been in the lead. That's how close they all were. So very questionable decision making there, as Pecan is now exiting the pit lane, and he did get his wing changed this time, so he's learned from last week, and he does now have a new front wing for his race through the field.
That's good to see. It's always difficult watching drivers get held up by somebody due to damage.
Is now the Imperial spins. Him and Hefty Bag were side by side through the S's, and Imperial spins it on the inside curb. Disappointment for him, as Pecan has also spun it in the first sector on his cold tires. Now he is in the gravel, so quite a few spins here. Pecan saying this was his favorite track, but this race is not going very well for him. He's already had 2 spins in only 13 laps.
Not a lucky race for him currently.
I will say Sinister Owl has gotten a second out of that lead from Sniper Pig. So Sinister Owl putting in some good consistent laps. Real Space Hero right behind him. Breezy sets the fastest lap of the race with a 132.085. So a full 10th faster than what Sniper Pig had put in for the fastest lap of the race last lap. Breezy will be really looking to try to get past this racing point this time cleanly. See if he can. Yes, he does. So Breezy does get past Maida this time around without any contact. Maida going off into the grass and making Honos, just making him pee his trousers there, but he should be okay. Kill the Birdman and Imperial swap positions for P11. Racing for pride over points right now. It would be good to be said that Hefty Bag, after pitting on the 3rd lap of this GP, is up to 10th place, going on to those hard compound tires at the very beginning of this race. If he can hold on to get a couple of points here, that'll be a great result for him. Mighty gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings as Pecan has pit and come back out once again. So huge disappointment for him. He is down into P16. Sinister Owl still around 4.5 seconds back. Sniper Pig holding on quite a bit there. Pecan comes out right in front of Sniper Pig, and that's going to be hugely disappointing for him to see that Red Bull right in his mirrors.
Bossman and Get That Money and Run in a little bit of a battle right now.
Bossman gets the overtake complete on Get That Money and Run with the help of a little bit of DRS. We have a yellow flag in Sector 2, making sure it's none of our leaders. No, it is not. It is Maida once again. He
Oh,
is spinning right
Bossman
onto the
spins.
track. Bossman spins as well, so this track is completely blocked at the moment. Let's hope nobody comes around and hits these drivers. Bokonos comes through and gets a lot, as well as Taquito. Taquito spins in the Degna curves. He resets onto the track, so I don't know if he knows all of the rules completely, but that is definitely against quite a few of them. Now Bossman will be going very slowly on those overheated tires, and Kill the Birdman will easily be able to get by him, I would assume. Not quite yet. So we had a couple of drivers deciding to park up and watch a drive-in movie. As now the podium is back to the way it was before the pit stops, and Real Space Hero is closing in on Sinister Owl, MP2. Sinister Owl losing touch with Sniper Pig, MP1.
Masashiro has spun into the dirt.
He pulls back on track right in front of Pecan, so they're going to be battling for position there. Breezy around 4.5 seconds behind Real Space Hero, and that gap is closing dramatically, so Breezy will be looking to get onto the podium here as soon as possible. Bokonos goes off track in the first sector in the S's, so get that money and run. Will be promoted up into P6 after that one. Kill the Birdman and Bossman battling here. Kill the Birdman finally gets past Bossman there. Hefty Bag only around a second back on Glen Coco and closing on those 13-lap-old hard compound tires. It's a great stint out of Hefty Bag to redeem himself just a little bit in this GP.
Now the question is Hefty Bag going to be able to last the rest of this race on these hard tires?
I don't know if he can. We know how bad this tire wear can be around here, as Real Space Hero is finally in the DRS of Sinister Owl. We know how hard the tire wear can be around here, but I mean, if he's got to do it to be able to get points, he's going to have to do it. He's going to have to stick it out and try his hardest, as there's a yellow flag once again in Sector 1. Not quite sure who it's for.
I think that was Pedro.
It seems like it was, as he falls down in the timing sheets once again. Hefty Bag right on the back of Glen Coco, going into turn 1 with the DRS open, but not quite enough to get on him. He got a very nice surge. He was getting a very good exit, but had to back out of it to keep from hitting Glen Coco. The Haas car with a lot more grip here through this section, but Hefty Bag being very smooth on his inputs and keeping right on the back of Glen Coco. So the yellow flag in Sector 2 now. Somebody went off into Degna curves. Not quite sure who it was. Right in front of these two drivers is now Hefty Bag. Looks to the outside. And oh, Hefty Bag hits him and spins. Hefty Bag goes into the gravel and into the wall. So does Glen Coco. They will both lose out to Kill the Birdman and Bossman. So Hefty Bag, a huge mistake there, and costed both of these drivers a few positions, as Imperial also goes through 4P10. Very disappointing from Hefty Bag there.
There was just no room to get that pass done.
I completely agree, and that was one of those cases where he should have just backed on out of it, but he did not. Pedro spins out right in front of Honos after defending against him through the first few corners.
Real Space
thankfully
Hero
for Honos,
right on the diffuser.
Breezy goes off track as well in the Dunlop curve, so Breezy goes off track and loses P4. Yellow flags all over the place. Masashiro's off track here. So now quite a few drivers are going into the pit lane. Glen Coco and Hefty Bag. Masashiro gets a 10-second time penalty for extending track limits. The Toro Rosso of Masashiro is in the wall. Maida is in the wall. Everybody's in the wall. As they now have a virtual safety car, as Maida has retired from the session. So virtual safety car will be looking for those VSC penalties here, and let's see if any drivers are going to try to get a free pit stop here. Breezy could get a free pit stop in. He has around 12 seconds. As Wild Taquito gets a drive-through penalty for speeding under the VSC. The VSC lasts long enough, Breezy could get a pit stop in, and he does go for it. So Breezy sees the opportunity, and he's going to get basically a free pit stop in to try to get as much time as possible on the drivers ahead of him.
Let's see, I would assume he would go to the softs with this short of a time left.
He does go to the softs. He gets his front wing changed. Be a long stop for him, but we're still under VSC according to the graphics. And look at Poconos and Get That Money and Run. They are right nose to tail right now in this VSC. As now DRS is enabled once again, and the VSC has ended, and Get That Money and Run gets a great launch in the S's compared to Poconos. So Get That Money and Run pulls a good gap right there. Pedro gets off track to allow these two drivers through. Sinister Owl under pressure from Real Space Hero for that P2. If this overtake happens, then your podium position will be correct to the T. My podium is not looking very likely as it featured Pecan, and Pecan is very far back in this race.
Yeah, I can't see that happening for you, but definitely very close to mine.
Yep, if Sinister gets if Space overtakes Sinister Owl here, you will be able to make your podium correct. We're going to have a great race for P2 here in these final laps, the last 7 laps of this GP. As now Poconos looks to the inside of Get That Money and Run. He will try to get this move done in that Mercedes, going through this nice long right-hander. Very close driving here, but both drivers staying off of each other's side pods as now they're still wheel to wheel. And Get That Money and Run, a great save out of him as Poconos holds on to that P5. Or takes P5, excuse me. Get That Money and Run goes down into P6 after almost spinning. It's a great car control out of Get That Money and Run to stay there.
Real Space Hero loses some time on Mr. Owl.
Yeah, Real Space Hero makes a mistake, and Sinister Owl is closing in on Sniper Pig a little bit at a time. It was about 5 seconds, the gap about 4 or 5 laps ago. Now it's 4.2 seconds. Pecan gets a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting.
Real Space Hero closing the gap again.
Poconos and Get That Money and Run side by side, and Get That Money and Run flies past Poconos with the use of all of his ERS deployment there. Now Poconos, a little bit of a tap on the rear diffuser of Get That Money and Run, but Get That Money and Run says, nah, this is my position, and he will most likely hold on to P5s. He is very far ahead there. 8/10 the gap into this DRS straight. As Breezy sets the new fastest lap of this race. Very rapid lap there. Almost 2 seconds faster than the rest of the drivers in this race.
Very good use of ERS on Get That Money and Run part.
Yeah, that was a great overtake there by Get That Money and Run using that ERS deployment. It is worth mentioning that Zeus on his debut for Ferrari is in the points. He has a solitary point to his name. Pecan, right? He's in P12. 0 points to his name for Ferrari. So a huge disappointment for these two drivers and for the Ferrari team here in Suzuka.
That can be said again. They're really not in a position that they need to be able to compete in the points championship.
Pedro once again spinning in the first sector at the Dunlop curve, right in front of a ton of drivers. So Pedro spinning quite a bit, and through no fault of his own, really being a danger to some of these drivers having to get by him as he spins out on the track. So now we only have 5 laps left in this GP. Sniper Pig is still out front. He's led from the start. He is in P1, around 4.5 seconds ahead of Sinister Owl, who's around a second ahead of Real Space Hero in P3. Honos in P4 for Alfa Romeo. Get that money and run, holding down P5 with Bocanos right behind him in P6. Breezy in P7 after trying to make a 2-stop work. We'll be watching him here at the end of this race. Is Bocanos. Bocanos is spun in the Degna curves, and he has destroyed his front wing on the inside wall, and he's absolutely ripping those rear tires to shreds. So Bocanos, in a little bit of anger, has now destroyed what a good race he had there. Now he's going to have to go into the pit lane to get some new tires, and Breezy has been promoted up to P6. Kill the Birdman is in P8, all on his lonesome. Imperial in P9 as well. Also very alone. Zeus very alone, and Bossman very alone in P11. The first man not in the points, Pecan, is in P12. As once again the McLaren of Pedro is off track. He has no front wing. He pulls almost onto the track in front of a big group of cars, but thankfully pulls back off in time.
Sorry about the radio silence there. I had to fix my mic.
Pedro has retired from the session on track at the side of the track, so very interesting for him. Wild Taquito getting lapped by one of the Haas drivers here. He's ignoring the blue flags, and he has now been overtaken by the Imperial, I believe. Yes, it was the Imperial. Now Taquito goes into the pit lane. Bocanos pits as well. Bocanos will drop down to P8. Will be fighting for P8 here with Imperial right behind him in that Haas, who is on some worn out mediums, but hot mediums. Breezy right on the back of Get That Money and Run. He's going to be looking to get up into P5 and seal this beautiful comeback drive he has had all the way from the back of the grid. Gets a wonderful exit there in that Williams. Pulls to the outside for 130R. Is he going to go for this move again around the outside of 130R? Will he make it stick this time? He goes all the way around the outside, and he is passed into the chicane. But wow, Get That Money and Run cuts the chicane a ton. But thankfully, gives Breezy back the position there. So Breezy will be up into P5. But he has 17.8 seconds to make up to get into P4. So he's back to where he was before he pit in that virtual safety car. Is now Real Space Hero once again within that DRS range of Sinister Owl, but Sinister Owl keeping him very honest, trying to hold on to that P2 as long as possible for Renault with only 3 laps left. It's going to be tough for Real Space Hero to get by. We know how elbows out Sinister Owl can be. This seems to be the closest race on track. Sinister Owl goes a little bit wide there in Spoon Curve, allowing Real Space Hero to get a good run on him up towards 130R. Will be around half a second behind going into the chicane. Let's see if he can get a good exit and try to make something happen onto the front straight and into the first corner. Still around 5/10 behind. He opens up his DRS. Let's see if it's powerful enough to bring him alongside. It doesn't quite look like it. He's only around 3.5 tenths behind, but not quite close enough to make the move stick.
He really wants the second place, you can tell.
We have a yellow flag in Sector 1. Glen Coco is spun. And also the Imperial gets
Real
past
Space
both of
Hero
us.
very greatly. He gained at least 2 tenths just from Sinister Hour backing out of it there.
So Sinister Owl going to be very frustrated as another driver goes off track right in front of these two. Not quite sure who it was. Hopefully the track will stay clean for these two drivers. Boconos and Imperial battling it out for P8 right now for those 4 points. But it looks like Boconos will have the move done here. We'll jump back up to this battle for P2. Pecan is retired from the session. So Pecan had some sort of an issue. He was crashed in the third sector.
Going up the inside.
Real Space Hero gets past Sinister Owl going into turn 1. So Sinister held on to P2 throughout the entire race and is now losing it here in this final 2 laps of this GP. But he's going to have one more lap of DRS on him in the next lap. Real Space Hero, though, is going to be looking to pull this gap as much as possible while he can to get out of that DRS zone. Glen Coco is also retired from the session.
Wow, a lot of DNFs towards the end of this race.
A lot of these drivers on very old tires. Sinister Owl is going to have to hope that that yellow flag disappears, because if it doesn't, then he's not going to be able to use that DRS on the front straight. Now, get that money and run. Comes out of the pit lane. For some reason, he is pit. He comes out in P7. Killed the Birdman. With, I believe, a career best right now of P6. Now there's another yellow flag in Sector 1. Not quite sure who it might be for. So now they are cleared up just in time for Sinister Owl to get this DRS on Real Space Hero. But is he close enough? Oh, the Mercedes spins right in front of both of them. Wow, Taquito has gotten in the way of quite a few races here, and he got in the way of that one as well. Sinister Owl will be very disappointed here, because that was his chance at getting back into P2, but it was taken away from him very abruptly by a Mercedes sitting sideways in the final corner.
At this point, Real Space Hero really just needs to drive it home. He's got a second gap. Maintain. Oh my God!
Hefty Bag is stopped in the middle of the track, but thankfully, somehow he ghosted. And now he pulls off onto the runoff area to get out of the way. That was very scary there for Sniper Pig. Oh my God. Hefty Bag gets a 10-second time penalty for that, but that was sketchy. Now Sniper Pig coming around Spoon Curve now. Looks like there aren't going to be very many more position changes. Zeus and Imperial actually are battling it out for P9 and P10. Zeus looking to the inside, going into turn 1. It looks like he might just get this move stick, 2-stick for Ferrari, and he does.
Sniper Pig so coming through the chicane right now.
Up into P9. Now we jump back up to the leader. Sniper Pig has led from the first lap from pole, and Sniper Pig takes home the win here in Suzuka. Real Space Hero gets that move done, and Sinister Owl gets into P3 there. Honos has spun in the final corner. Honos, oh my God. Honos is bottling this P4. Thankfully, Breezy is nowhere close. Breezy way far behind him in the final chicane, but whenever he sees the Hono spun, he will really be kicking himself. Get that money and run will be the next driver to cross the line. He just came out of Spoon Curve. He will be coming up towards 130 yard now, so we'll jump back down to this battle for the final points paying position. Bossman right on the back of Imperial. Imperial's tires must be falling off quite a bit. He's losing a ton of time. Bossman trying to get that one solitary point for his team. Jump back up to get that money and run, who is crossing the line now for P6. Killed the Birdman will come across the line on P7. I got about 15 seconds to cover this race for P10.
Bossman going up the inside. Slight contact.
Bossman going up the inside through 130 yard. He might just make this move stick. Imperial trying his hardest, but he will spin in the final chicane, and Bossman will hold on to get P10 in this race, barring he has no penalties. Get that money and run, P6. Woo. Kill the Birdman, P7. Bokonos in P8. Zeus, P9, and Bossman rounding out the points in P10. Imperial comes home in P11. Hefty Bag in P12. And Wild Taquito in P13. So there you have it. That was your Japanese GP. We were doing really good on no retirements until the last about 10 laps there, where we only had 13 drivers left in the session. As we now watch the podium celebrations for Sniper Pig. Red Bull domination, the 1-2 out of these two drivers. We know Red Bull is very strong around Suzuka. They really showed it here. Great result out of these drivers. Communicating with online services.
I'm very, very happy with my prediction coming true.
So the results here in this Japanese GP here at the Suzuka International Racing Course. Sniper Pig 007 gets the win for Red Bull Racing. Real Space Hero rounding out that 1-2 for Red Bull, finishing in P2. Sinister Owl, a very strong P3 for Renault Honos. Coming home in P4, Breezy with a very strong drive from P19 on the grid. Goes all the way up to the P5. Get that money run in P6 with a time penalty. Kill the Birdman also has a time penalty. He is in P7. Bokonos in P8 for Mercedes. Zeus P9 for Ferrari, and Bossman rounding out the points in P10 for Renault. The Imperial comes home in P11 for Haas. Hefty Bag P12. Wild Taquito P13. He is the last finisher in this GP.
Wow, what a great race.
That was absolutely amazing. It was just as close as I thought it was going to be. So thank you all for tuning in for this UDL F1 League Japanese.
See you, everyone.